Hi everyone, we're back talking about Love Island UK Season 13, Episode 9. Now we pick up off of where we left off of the last episode, and that's with Priya and Lorenzo leaving the hideaway after a kiss on the swing. Um, Priya sees Jasmine. Here's the thing. She sees her at the fire pit and she's like, hey, and just keeps walking off, decides to go to the pool, and sits by the girls and gossips about the kiss that she just had and talks about it was really good, how exciting, but like nervous she is now. And I was like, are you nervous? Or are you worried? Because later on, she talks about like being like a girl's girl in the dressing room. And if you were a girl's girl, A, you wouldn't have to say it. B, you would have pulled Jazz immediately. And you didn't. Because you saw her, but you didn't pull her. Neither did Lorenzo. They both just like avoid them and like walk off. Like they don't understand how this works, especially when you immediately go and tell someone else. Lorenzo did not tell anyone immediately, but he also didn't discuss with Priya, like, hey, please don't say anything until, I'm able to tell Jazz and, you're able to tell Semraj. Like they didn't have a game plan at all. They were just like impulsive, acting in the moment. Okay, she goes and tells the girls, and they're like, oh my God. And immediately the grapevine starts. Lola goes and tells Sean, and then Sean goes and tells Cav, and then Cav goes and tells Semraj. And it's just like this chain reaction after that. Semraj is just like, all right, okay, bet. For me, I take that as Semraj is processing and accepting the fact that Priya has made her choice. She didn't want to kiss him up on the terrace. Granted, it wasn't like the most, I don't know, organic flow that could lead to a kiss. But still, it's just like, I think that's also because she's not as interested in him as she is Lorenzo, at least not like with that chemistry, which is fine. But again, Samraj is just like, okay, I heard the message loud and clear. Later on, he gets accused for having an ego, not to his face, but by the girls. And I'm just like, I mean, of course he's going to feel a type of way about it, but like, for Priya to say that he has an ego is rich, because I swear this girl is acting like it's Priya's island. She is so, she has this expectation after the kiss immediately, even though it wasn't discussed. But this expectation that it deaded between Lorenzo and Jazz, like it's going to be over, it's done, you know? And she pretty much deads it with Samraj. Like when they talk later about it, she's just like, I'm more comfortable with Lorenzo. That's how it is. And he's like, all right, cool. Like, I don't want to be, it could tell he like ended the conversation because it's like, I don't necessarily want to have like a girl's chat with you and you tell me all about it. He was just like, no, I'm happy for you guys. And that was his reaction too when Cav told him. He's like, cool, I'm happy for them. He's like, I'm going to focus on Mika now. Like he was saying, he is not a roster type of guy. He is a one woman type of guy. And for me, it feels like Jazz and him were definitely trying to be like loyal to their partners while also moving correctly. Like they were really trying to think of everyone in the picture. When this happens between Lorenzo and Priya, I think it switches the gears for both of them. They're just like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do me now. I'm gonna focus on what I want, and I'm gonna lock in, and I'm not gonna just worry about trying to keep everyone happy. I think that's why he moves the way he does, because he's like, all right, bet I'm just gonna focus on Mika. How about that? Opie and Angelista have a little chat. It's just like him reiterating that he's really sorry. He doesn't really move that way, and I'm not convinced, and neither is she. He's not necessarily sounding super empathetic about her feelings. He's more of like, you know, like he's being scorned by a parent, even though she's not doing that. Like she has a right to be angry, but he needs to handle it like from a mutually respected point. And instead, he kind of takes like this kid role and like looks at her as almost like a parent that's getting on to him. And that's why he was reacting and behaving like a little child. I think that's really strange and immature. If you come to somebody with an apology, like be genuine and actually say like, hey, I'm very sorry. Like, I know I hurt you. I know I fucked up. I know that was out of character. I know that I'm presenting to you a certain way than I did that's differently, on the camera. And, I don't know. He could have done more. Instead, he was just like talking really fast and being like, okay, 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 like wanting to get it over with. So yeah, she just kind of leaves the conversation like, okay, cool, like whatever. She just lets him know that she had cried, like she was really convinced he was happy with her. And then to see that was not only embarrassing, but jarring. And, it's like he had word vomit. It was just not someone she wants to be associated with, not someone that acts like that. So yeah, they had a little conversation. Then you have the phone game happening, so everybody knows about everything. Simraj, later on that evening, after they've all gotten ready and the party's kind of like starting, Simraj is pulled by Lorenzo and he tries to chat to him and let him know like what had happened. And Lorenzo's like, Simraj was like, yeah, I know everything that happened. It's wild that you couldn't pull me for like a little 5-minute chat. And Lorenzo's like, their opportunity didn't present itself. Like, this is where they also, Simraj is just like, you know what, good luck to you guys. Honestly, I'm going to focus on Mika. And then Lorenzo's starting to freak out a little bit. He's like, hold on, like, don't dead it off with Priya because I'm not making a decision. And this is where you're seeing the difference between like the roster guy, Lorenzo, and the one woman guy, Simraj. Lorenzo's like, no, like we all needed like keep getting to know each other and keep our options open. And like the kiss didn't mean as much as everybody is taking it as, when it does. Everybody's talking about how much a kiss means, especially when Lorenzo and Jasmine, I don't think have even kissed. Have they? I don't think they've kissed in a week. They haven't kissed. And he immediately goes and kisses her. And so I think also Simraj, after this, he goes and he pulls Mika, and then Priya finally is like, oh, I wanted to pull you. And it's like, not now, babes. Like, I'm going up to the terrace with my girl. Give me 5, And I love this because, I mean, Simraj even kind of said this to Jasmine because Jasmine came up to him and Lorenzo talking, and it was just like right at the beginning of the conversation. So he was just like, hey, give me a second. Like, we gotta finish this. And Jazz is like a little bit hurt, but she knows like he wasn't being rude. He was just being like firm, like he needed to finish what he was saying kind of thing. So she goes to the group and she's like, oh my gosh, yeah, he just told me give him 5 and stuff. And Mika wanted to make sure. She's like, did he say that to you? And she's like, yeah, he said it nicely though, it's fine. But it was still just a little bit of a shock. And it's just like Simraj is just focused now. And he just needs to, these conversations need to happen. And Lorenzo pulled him. It's not like Lorenzo pulled Jazz first. So we're just kind of like honoring that and just kind of getting it over with, like making sure it's done. It's a completed conversation. And it was funny, they were having him at the little chairs. And I call that like the boardroom because it's like where all the serious conversations happen, because that's where him and George had talked before too. So yeah, he pulls Mika to the terrace. Priya's like, oh yeah, I wanted to pull you. And he's like, give me 5. They go up to the terrace and they chat, and it's something I'm noticing about the switch in Simraj. He was talking about how Mika is like always presenting herself like the best she can, always has a smile, is always like adding good energy with her vibes and her pride in her look and all of that, and that he was just like emphasizing that she's a lady. And I think he's comparing her and Priya, because the way Priya moved with Lorenzo, I don't think Simraj rates that at all. He was just like, okay, just not my type. He's not into that. And that's where I also think that Priya is more self-centered than she realizes. That's why I was joking. It's like, oh, is this Priya's island? Because she's expecting the whole villa to revolve around her. And they're like, B, you just got here. Like, excuse you. And she's trying to almost cultivate this narrative that diminishes and minimizes Lorenzo and Jazz's time in there before her. Probably because that makes her a little more comfortable when she's like full steam ahead with Lorenzo. Anyway, so they go to the terrace, Mika and Simraj, and he calls her a lady, like I said, and then they kiss. And I'm like, ah, finally, because like she was wanting to be pulled by him, but he was also like, I didn't want to pull you right after and make it seem like I was just reacting, but it just solidified how he felt about her and where he needed to put his focus. He was trying to stay open because that's kind of what you do, but at the same time, like, he's they've been building a foundation. Now, I'm not going to say like it's completely sexually charged like a lot of the other couples, but they can get there. I think they're just a little more shy. They're on camera. They know their families are watching, that kind of thing. So it's just all playing into how, they behave. So I loved the kiss. I thought it was an A plus 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 plus. They look so good together. I'm so happy. I could gush about them but yeah, that was really good. And Priya sees it. She sees that they're kissing up there. I was like, yes, ha 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 ha. So yeah, what's next? Sam and Namibia chat. They talk about work and how he wants to travel, like go to Egypt, my dude, and that he would pick her in a recoupling. And Mika's first time on the terrace. Yeah, she was happy. Oh yeah, okay, so now Lorenzo and Jazz are talking at the fire pit. She is just like, you know what, I'm basically done. Like, it's obvious you didn't talk to me all day. I was pissed yesterday. You go and you kiss someone else. She's like, you've made your priorities known. Like, you've made it abundantly clear, like, where your focus is, who you want to be with. Like, I'm fine with it. I'm good. Like, go you. She's ready to kind of move on and just be with Cav now because she's been super patient with Lorenzo. But Lorenzo was just like, no, don't. Like, he doesn't want her to give up on them. He's like, don't you think if you want something, you should fight for it? And he starts putting in a little bit of effort, a little bit of graft, and he's just talking about like how he likes when she's mad at him. Red flag, like toxic. It's like he wants her to crash out, and that's how she proves that she likes him. He's not had a serious relationship, so he only knows these toxic, unhealed traits that he's dealt with from like one night stands. I'm thinking that's what it's giving. And so it's confusing for Jazz. She's like giggling and she's like a little put off, but also is kind of flirting with him, and she thinks she's going to dead it off, but instead she's just like, it's gone from 80% to 30%. That's what it's going to be at. Well, then Priya walks up, addresses them. It's really freaking awkward because she's trying to read their vibes, and she's like, I just want to know where your guys' heads are at. And so they decide to have a group conversation. Lorenzo gets put in the middle, and he's like already like looking with the possum eyes like, uh-oh. And it's just, I think Jasmine has learned just from watching Aiden's mess that it's better to just have a group chat. We're not going to have you telling her one thing and telling me a slightly different thing and it just being like more drama. So they all sit together. Jasmine and Lorenzo are 28, Priya's 25. Not that I think Lorenzo is super mature, but I do think Jasmine is. The way she's handling everything, like she's not afraid of confrontation, but she's also not trying to escalate anything. She's just like, it is what it is. But she tells the group later after she leaves this conversation that Priya came in low-key on smoke, and she definitely freaking did. Like, she's being territorial over Lorenzo. And she's like, I just don't get it. I don't understand what's going on. It's like, you kiss me, Lorenzo, but then you're like all of a sudden into Jasmine again. And Jasmine's like, well, I was going to dead it, but then he started putting in effort and he was being sweet. And so I was like, all right, I'll leave the door open like 30%. She's just straight up honest with her. I don't think she's making digs at Priya the way Priya does with Jasmine. Because Priya does like try to insert these little things like, he really enjoyed the kiss. And, she says this later in the group after her and Lorenzo's chat. She's like, you know what, I just don't understand, like, why all of a sudden after he kisses me, then he's, like, full on with all these other people. She just means Jazz. But she's really expecting him to just, like, lock it off with her because they've kissed. Again, she does not know Lorenzo good enough to even assume that, but that's what she wants. And I knew this wasn't going to work out. But anyway, so they chit-chat. Priya's pretty irritated, but she's trying to play it off like, I'm cool, I'm not bothered, that's just this act that she's doing. And then Jazz eventually leaves and goes and talks to the group a little bit, catches them up about, what just happened with Lorenzo and then with Priya. And then Priya and Lorenzo's chat does not last long after that. He's like, I'm gonna go to the toilet. And so she's like, okay. And she just walks off to the other group and visibly irritated, catches him up. And that was something too, Jazz was like telling the group, she's like, she like called me out in front of him saying that, like I was going to dead it off, what I was saying in the dressing room. And it's like, girl, that's girl talk. Like, you don't say that. Like, of course she had acknowledged it and agreed with it. She's like, yeah, no, I told him. But for Priya to bring it up like that was strategic. Like, that was definitely a tactical move, like trying to again push Jasmine out before Lorenzo was even ready to let her go. And so that's why Jazz was like, that's why I'm here. He's the one not ready to let me go. Talk to him. But she's like, Priya's trying to be mad at Jazz, and it's like, no. And then even later on, Jasmine is just like, I think me and Lorenzo, we're at least friends. Like, we have each other's backs. And I agree. They definitely have each other's backs. So, moving on. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So then Priya. Is that what happened? Hold on. Okay, I guess before this chat, I missed this. Priya did pull Samraj and caught him up on everything with the kiss. And he's like, yeah, I already know. And she's like, well, I didn't want you to find out this way. And I'm like, bullshit, dude. Like, if you didn't, you would have pulled him ASAP. So he's just like, he's not really buying it. And I love his reaction. He's just like, no, it's fine. I wish you guys the best. I wish you all the best. And she was like, yeah, I'm just more comfortable with him, blah, blah. So he's like, great, cool. All right, bye. So then she goes and talks to Lorenzo and Jazz. But that was something Lorenzo had said too with the girls. He's like, you know what? I'm just now waking up. It's like he's been there for a week and he's just now realizing the fact that he has to graft. He has to fight for what he wants. He sees Cav making moves with Jasmine and he's like, oh shit. Oh, I better do something. And so that's kind of like the fire that lit up his behavior. But it's just wild to me that that's the way he moved with Priya if he was wanting to. So I'm a little with Priya on that. It's like, did you kiss her? Okay, I'm starting to see her point of view actually a little bit. Like, was he trying to make Jazz jealous? Because he does admit that he likes when she's mad at her, which is toxic. So Priya might be onto something, but again, she's going toward Jazz with that anger. It needs to be directed at Lorenzo. That's where she's missing the mark. But it kind of gets me too, because I think that the girls are putting up with too much from Lorenzo. Like, they're not realizing that they're the prize. They're letting him say these stupid car analogies, like, that's why I left the Lambo parked in the driveway, and they're like rolling their eyes, but they're still leaving the door open with him. And I'm like, how don't you guys clock this? How don't you guys see this? Like, Jasmine I can understand a little bit more because they've bonded, they've slept in the same bed and stuff like that. But and I think Priya, again, she's just enamored by his looks. So that has worked for him in the past and it's working for him again. So yeah, Jazz explains. Okay, then you have Sam and Victoria. They're having a little flirty chat and they go to the terrace. Like, he's going to give her a tour of the terrace. Now, I'm not going to put this all on Victoria, but I will say she has a specific way of flirting and it's much more like sensual and like cheeky and a lot of eye contact, and Sam goes for it. He's just like, all right, cool. Like, he doesn't tell her this, but he has made it known to Namibia that he's more into her, but he definitely still explores with Victoria. He goes up to the terrace. They have like a few flirty little moments and then they kiss. He comes down and Victoria immediately goes to the girls and tells them Namibia's not there, by the way, and they act pretty close until this moment. Tells the girls like, yeah, it was a really good kiss, I locked it. And then right behind her in the kitchen, Sam's telling the boys, but he's like, I think I fucked up though, guys. I just told Namibia that she's like my number one, and then I go and I kiss this girl and they're like, and Sean's like, well, I'm confused, why'd you do that? And he's like, she was flirting with me. And I'm not going to be as harsh on Sam because he's like just now starting his journey basically, so I'm just like, okay. But Namibia, I mean, Victoria's not going to like to see that. Like, if they have a movie night with that clip, like, that's going to be really rough for Victoria to see that, because Namibia goes and sees Sam after he like briefs the guys, and he tells her right away, he's like, I need to tell you something. And she's like, oh, okay, I'm scared. And he's like, yeah, me too. And he's like, yeah. So she had seen it too, by the way. Namibia was chilling with Aiden on the daybeds, and she had seen them go up to the terrace, but they were sitting in a way that you really couldn't see the kiss. And so he was like, yeah, we went up to the terrace and stuff. And so I did kiss her, but honestly, like, I wish it was you. Like, when I was up there, I was like regretting it a little bit because, like, I had wished it was you. And she's like, well, you didn't, he took her. He's like, I know. He's like, I was trying to be friendly. And she's like, well, that's what you get for being too friendly. And she's giggling and laughing it off. She really doesn't seem too bothered. She's like taking it on the chin. She's like totally being super relaxed. Like, she's not entitled or anything, but at the same time, she's like, yeah, it's, a little annoying, but I'm glad you told me. And so yeah, he was just reiterating that yeah, he wishes it was her. And I was like, oh, ouch, it's giving player vibes. Like, dude, don't say that after you said all these like things to Victoria about liking her chat and stuff. Like, I don't know, he's doing that people pleasing thing. Oh no, I'm going backwards in pages. Hold on, oh, here we go. So then we have Jasmine and Cav, and they're chit-chatting, and he was like wanting to talk to her a little bit more, and she's like, yeah, where do you want to go? And he's like, Kent Terrace. So yeah, the terrace is booked and busy. That's something Aiden had said when he was next to Namibia and he saw that Sam had gone up there with Victoria. He was like, he didn't book. Just like, I've been cracking up. Like, I didn't know what to call this episode in my mind. It was just like Priya's Island, or the terrace is booked and busy, or the chain reaction, because again, this is still like spilling over the chain reaction. First you have Samraj and Mika just getting it done, going and kissing and like keeping the ball rolling. And now you have Jasmine, who's like, Aiden wants to go to the terrace, and she's like, fuck it, like, who cares now? Who really cares? Like, let's go. So she goes up there. They flirt a little bit. Like, he is definitely laying it on coolly but thick, and like, they kiss, and it's a really steamy kiss, I have to say. It was really charged, really like electric, and that's what he says like in his talking head too. It's just like this magnetic pull. They have a lot of chemistry, and I've been there, dude. I know how it can be. But downstairs, Ellie sees that. They go upstairs, and she's talking with Lola, and she's just like, you know what, I can't be bothered, I can't be hurt. It's like they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're exploring that connection. I think she just thinks Aiden, she thinks Cav could have been a little bit more honest with what his actual feelings were. Like, he was feeling Jazz more, but he wanted to keep that door open with Ellie and keep exploring and give them, a chance. They're in a couple, they're sharing a bed. He didn't want to be like that brutal about it, and so he was just trying to handle it maturely. But at the same time, he kind of leaves he kind of leaves it more for Ellie to like interpret what's going on, and he's not outright saying it yet until after the kiss. So Ellie's like, you visibly upset, and she's kind of zoning out, and I think she's just processing like her roller coaster journey. Lola was like, yeah, it's shit, dude. Like, it's real shit, for you to be feeling this way. Like, I'm sorry. And so immediately they, when they're done kissing, Cav comes down and he tells Ellie, and he is a little still giddy from the kiss, so maybe he should have waited a couple minutes, but you can't wait too long in this villa, as we've all learned and as he has observed. So he wants to tell Ellie immediately, because that's the responsibility he has. He's in a couple with her. So he wipes off that grin, and he tells Ellie, like, yeah, we had a bit of a kiss. And Ellie visibly looks like she is on the verge of losing it, like just crying and just needing to get it out, because it's just been up and down. And she says, like, she's been through every single emotion. It's not his fault. And they do give a hug after she didn't really want to hug him because she didn't feel like she could handle it, which I understand. But then she's like, no, what? I'll hug you because I don't want you to feel like shit, or I don't want you to feel bad because you didn't have to do anything wrong. She agrees. But there is that little gray area where he could have done better. He could have told her. He did say it on the dates, and Ellie noticed, but he didn't tell her directly that he was feeling Jazz a little bit more, because that would have helped her pull back and be prepared instead of grafting him, So yeah, there's that. She's sad. She ends up going upstairs, and Robin sees her immediately, and she's like, what's wrong? And she's crying, and they're in the makeup room just talking about it. And Robin just validates her feelings. She does really good. Like, she uses her wisdom that she's gained with her experience in the villa, and she just really gives that advice and that comfort to Ellie. And she's like, you know what? You've been through a freaking lot in here. Like, Aiden treated you like shit, and then now this. And so it's like understandable. She's like, but do not forget, your man could walk in here tomorrow. Okay. So, like, don't give up, and don't, like, have your moment, you know, cry and everything, like, you deserve that, but don't give up. And so they're like hugging it out, and they're like, at least we have each other. And I'm like, but yeah, in his little beach hut talking head, Cav is just like, you know what, that was really hard. He's like, seeing Ellie that upset, he's like, that was not that he's being the victim, but he was just like, that was tough. Doing the right thing is hard, but he didn't avoid it. I'm very proud of him for that. Again, it would not have been as bad if he would have given her the heads up. Just saying. It's like, if you're already going to be a man about it and tell her right away, then you should have been a man about it a little earlier too. Giving her the heads up. Because you guys can still be friends, or could have been friends, but I don't know now. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, she had a good cry and everything. Then Jazz is hanging out with Lorenzo and Priya, Samraj, Mika, and Namibia and Victoria. And Lorenzo's like, so what happened up on the terrace? And she's like, oh, you know, just like a little smooch. And they're like, oh. And Priya's like so happy for her. She's like, oh my God, there you go. Because again, she thinks that's like more of a sign that, you know, she's going to leave Lorenzo alone. And Lorenzo is visibly, I don't know, he's taken aback. He's trying to play it cool for sure. But I think I agree with Jasmine in her beach hut. He was a little jealous, but at the same time, he's just like, oh, see, now you know what it's like, you know, Oxville. And she's like, wait, what are you talking about? And like, they don't understand where he's coming from. I do, but she's also like, no, I just feel for Ellie, like, you know. And Lorenzo's like, ugh, whatever, I'm just gonna shut up. And they're like, yeah, you should shut up. But I see what he's talking about. But Priya's like, yeah, it is a little awkward, isn't it? And she's like, So there's that. Lorenzo pulls Cav to the fire pit, and he's like, hey, it's cool. Like, don't want you to think you can't tell me, you know, what goes on and stuff. Like, just because we have, whatever, been having a thing, it's totally fine. But Cav, like, is like, you know what, I know, but you've been here longer than me, so it's like, I'm trying to be respectful and kind of, you know, not be too, like, domineering, I guess, because they already admit that since Cav has came in the villa, Lorenzo has realized he's got to step up his game, and that's directly because of Cav, because he's been super interested in Jazz, and he's been Lorenzo's competition, not intentionally, it just, you know, how it happened. So they both laugh and joke about that. And let's see. Oh, they see Sean and Lola go on the terrace, and Lorenzo's like, he kind of sounds like George when he says this, but he's like, those two, they need to piss off, because you know what? They're making us all look bad. And I'm like, shut up, Lorenzo. Like, you honestly make yourself look bad. It has nothing to do with Sean. Like, and honestly, okay, so Sean and Lola are up there and they're talking, and they're having this really sweet conversation. He's talking about how he just really has learned how to trust her, and it's shocking to him because no girl has ever really helped him trust like so easily. And Lola's like super happy and super pleased about it. And then they kind of joke about like, well, first he makes it pretty clear. He's like, you know what, I don't think anybody could come in that could turn my head, you know, like, are we on the same page? So he's basically saying that they're locked off without saying it. That's why she asks for clarification right after they leave the terrace. She's like, wait, so are we exclusive or are we not? And he's like, after I said all that? And she's just like, I just want to hear it. Like, I just want to know. Like, it's just, because she's like, that's what I want. And they're like, yeah, no, like, we're locked off. She's like, great, cool, awesome. Like, she's happy about it. But before that, yeah, they were talking a little bit more about, like, their future plans. And this is where I think they're getting ahead of game. This is where I think that love bubble is possibly going to burst, just because they're talking about having, he's like 4 kids. He wants her to have 4 kids before she's 32, or like by the time she's 32, or granted she's 28, so he wants her to have a kid a year and like immediately start. I thought that was wild. I thought that was insane. And she's kind of like going along with it, but that was a red flag for me for her, that she needs to be like, but I think she just really wants to make it work with him and keep it like on the up and up and keep it all successful. But I really think she should have been like, hold on. So yeah, they're the first couple, exclusive, official couple. Later on, Sean tells Samraj and Lorenzo. Samraj shakes his hand. Lorenzo doesn't really say anything, and we all know why. They're in the dressing room. Mika talks about her kiss, giving her butterflies with Samraj, and Priya was just like, hey, I'm realizing it's every man for themselves in here. And it's like, yeah, not everybody is going to be pushing your agenda, honey. That's not how this works. And Ellie agrees. She's like, if you don't make it early, you're fucked. And then Sam is like mentioning Namibia's little cherry PJs are fancy. And she's like, is it? And he's, just kind of flirting with her. He thinks they're fancy. Angelista makes a pillow wall in between her and Opie because he's back in the bed. And he's like, come on, Angie. He's like whining. And I'm like, bitch, you're lucky. You are lucky you're here. Like, I would tread carefully. I would watch that. But yeah, just acting like a fucking child again, like whining. And she's like, hey, these are my boundaries. Deal with it. Jazz hands Cav his little water bottle. And Cav and Ellie are spooning when they go to bed. So again, there's still that kind of connection. She's not deading it off, but she tells Jazz a little later when they're talking and catching up that, yeah, she's not going to be pulling him for chat. She's not going to graft him anymore. Like, he's going to have to put in the effort. So she knows, like, he's actually interested, because so far it doesn't seem like that. And Jazz agrees. She's like, yeah, it's exactly how I'm with Lorenzo. I'm like, prove it. If you say you still want me around, prove it. Like, I'm not just going to be your plan B. Let me know, you actually are pursuing at least getting to know me further, deeper, on a deeper level. So, let's see. Sam, when they all wake up, he gets asked about who he prefers, and he's like feeling both girls still. So he's like back and forth. I don't know. He wants to stick it on Namibia so hard, but then he wants to kiss Victoria, and then he wants to tell the guys that he's into both. And he's just like, he's really back and forth. I'm not a fan. Jazz, like, that's when she mentions her and Lorenzo have each other's back. And then Priya, like, has to chime in. She's like whining that she's confused about him. And she takes one step forward with him and then like 10 steps back. And I'm just like, shut up, dude. I think she's just being super dramatic because she expects a lot more than what she's going to get from Lorenzo. Just saying. Then you have Opie in the kitchen. He's yelling for Angie because he made her eggs, and he tells her while they're sitting down that, she's his number one, and that he's really going to graft and he's really going to try, and that she looks beautiful today, and he's just, laying it on thick. Victoria notices. She's like, oh, he didn't make me breakfast. Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah. He just seems to accept the fact that, and this could be, okay, so because Victoria has kissed Sam, and she also has been showing interest in other people, Opie might have, like, been thinking, like, oh, crap, she's not going for me, like, heavy on. She's not zero in on me, so I'm going to go back home with Angelista and try to make that work, because, like, I about blew this all up for this new girl and she don't even want me. And that's what I was saying, like, in his date with her, I was like, is this going to be worth it? Like, is it worth it? Because I don't think she didn't end up choosing him, not for the first one-on-one date. They do have a little date. But yeah, she's not all about Opie, and that's what I think he was hoping for, is that. And that's exactly what Angelista is giving him. So yeah, he goes back, but I think that's just to save his ego, if he can. Angelista in her beach hut, she's like, she likes the effort. He's still on probation, though. And I'm like, good, like, keep him there. Like, he has a lot of work to do, in my opinion. Priya tells the girls that she's only feeling a spark with Lorenzo. She's on the day beds with Jazz and I think Victoria and Namibia, maybe. Jazz just chimes in and she was like, yeah, Lorenzo, his personality, he doesn't like it when you, like, put pressure on him and you try to force things. So just let him be himself. Like, he knows that what he did pissed you off. Now just let it kind of, like, flow. Otherwise you might push him away, kind of thing. And I love when Jazz says that, because it's honestly really good advice. Because Lorenzo is also gassed that there's so many girls after him. So it's like, girl, if you want to keep your spot with this one, you gotta take the chill road. And then she asks her about, like, Samraj, like, are you done with that? And she's like, I don't know, I think he's done with me, because he has an ego. And Namibia, like, jumps in. She's like, yeah, he does. And I'm like, in that case, they would be good matched, but she mishandled him. She fumbled him, so no. But she's got the ego. Like, are you joking? Priya's got a freaking ego. Like, I think Samraj has a healthy amount of ego. Like, I think he read the room right when she did that. It was, like I said, it was a loud message, received loud and clear, Jesus. But Jazz was just like, yeah, so what? You bruised his ego. Like, you can stroke a man's ego too, and then, they're back to liking you. It's not a big deal. And I thought that was really smart. That was really good. Like, I think she might be a little tactical, but she does it so good. I'm just like, and it's true because, again, Priya could still explore that with Samraj, even though he's more focused on Mika now. Like, he's progressed forward with Mika because Jazz was saying this because Priya is like progressing forward with Lorenzo. But she could still chat to him, she could still get to know him. But he deaded it. I don't think he's going to be down for that. But she was trying to tell her, like, yeah, you can stroke a man's ego, it's fine. Ellie's sitting down with Lorenzo, getting the goss before Jazz pulls her to check in. And that's when they, like, kind of bond over the fact that they're not grafting these guys anymore. They're just like, nope, they're going to have to come to me. Sam pulls Namibia to the hideaway. Victoria is shocked. She asks if she was, oh yeah, in the hideaway, Sam is asking Namibia if she was bothered by the terrorist kiss. And Namibia's like, no, it's just, yeah, because he still likes Namibia the most. And she asks if he's going to still chat to Victoria, and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do kisses, though. I won't be kissing her anymore, but I'll still chat to her, and try to get to know her. And so then they kiss. And it's a good kiss, in my opinion. Like, I think it's not bad, except they're on the swing, and it's a little rocky because of that. So, and Namibia even mentions that later when she's telling the girls, like, hesitantly, very hesitantly, she's telling them because they're by the pool, and right by them is Sam talking to Victoria, and he's avoiding it. Like, honestly, he doesn't really want to say it. But then you have Lorenzo with his loud mouth walking by. He's like, "Hey, who's the one snogging Sam in the hideaway?" And he's like pointing at Namibia, and she's like, "It's rude to point. Stop it." He's really trying not to. And the girls are like, "What's up with your lip? It looks fresh." And she's just like, "Nothing." And it's like she's not gonna like get into the goss when they're right there. But at the same time, Victoria is like, she heard that and she was listening and she was waiting for Namibia to confirm that they kissed, and Sam still doesn't really like say anything, but yeah, it's obvious. And then they start getting ready for the, wait, what? Okay, Jazz is still a little unsure about Lorenzo. When they ask Lorenzo, he's like, he's not picking yet. He's not sure. This is like before the evening, I guess. I thought they were getting ready for the evening earlier. I messed that up. But no, now they got ready for the evening because there's going to be a recoupling. So Lorenzo tells Priya at the chairs that she's still in contention with Jazz, or with, the other girls he's interested in. And I thought that was a really weird word to choose. Again, he's not the best with his words. It's like, so she's a contender, like, does he want them to box over him essentially? Like, I think that is like what he's essentially saying without really trying to say that. He's just like, you can still fight for me. You're still like in the running. And it's just the most bizarre way to talk to women who are interested in giving their heart to him. He's just like, yeah, you could have my attention maybe if you fight for it. He's like coming from a completely different path. Like, these girls are over here trying to lock in the love, and he's over here trying to see who likes him the most. I don't know. I don't understand his way of thinking for sure. So, Priya was telling him that she liked their kiss, and then he was saying it made him more confused. What did I say? What did I warn her about? I warned her. She didn't see this, but I was warning her that, yeah, you're going to have to still think about the fact that you're dealing with Lorenzo. He doesn't just change because you entered the room. That's not how people operate. And so that's why you need to be like coming at it from a more accepting place, where it's like you accept people where they are. You don't immediately jump in and try to start manipulating them and molding them into something you want, because that's when the God within, like your God, is starting to get out of your lane. Like, your lane is to work on yourself and to be the master of self. you can only control yourself. You cannot control others. And that's why I feel like Priya has been trying to control things, other people. It keeps not working out for her. Yeah, he's more confused after the kiss. Go figure. Huh, doesn't that suck? So they get the text. Yaz was great. So I think it was Aiden that got the text, and Yaz heard it, and she was like, huh, and she freaks out, and she spills the red wine all over his shoulder, and he's like he's not amused. He was just like shocked. And I loved it because it's like this light blue shirt, and now he has to wear like a wine stain. They don't even let him change. They just like have Yasmin like sit in front of him at the fire pit. But basically, here we go. Dumping, possibly. I didn't hear about the dumping. They didn't say the dumping in the text, so they better not. Haven't seen the next episode. I need to go watch that ASAP. I just needed to rest. Oh my God, I was so exhausted from my animals and from these episodes and from my notes. So basically, the boys are going to choose who they want to couple up with. That's making every girl nervy. But first, of course, you're going to have the bombshells choose. So Namibia gets first choice. Thank God. She picks Sam. But then you have Victoria. And she picks a very nervous looking Opie. And he's like, I don't know if he's playing up for the camera or he just knows his hole just got twice as big, like twice as big to dig himself out of now that he's going to be in a whole nother couple and have these new expectations on him. He like kind of sits away from Victoria. He's just like beside himself, and the girls are all looking nervous. And I'm like, okay. I saw Queen E. I have not been watching anybody else's reviews because I don't want to like inadvertently mimic or steal their content. So I have not. I usually watch Queenie religiously, and I haven't, but I did see, because I'm subscribed to her, I saw her little thumbnail, and it was just like this was a setup. So I'm really nervous based off of that. I'm like really nervous for my girl Angelista. I'm like, if this was a setup to get her kicked out, not that I'm gonna burn this face down, but like figuratively speaking, I will be very upset. I will be very upset because she has been through it. And how dare Opie get a chance when Angelista hasn't got a chance yet? And there needs to be more guys in. Like, we've had 2 girl bombshells, 3, and only 1 guy. Like, the math ain't mathin'. Like, we need some guy bombshells ASAP. So that's how it ends. What are we at? 40 minutes? Of course we are. I tried to make it short. That's not gonna happen. But I think if I wouldn't have even skimmed my notes the way I did, this would have been an hour long. So I took too many notes. But anyway, that's the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap, the play-by-play. We will see what happens next with the rest of the recoupling, Boys Choice in episode 10. So I'll see you guys next time.